from the high desert and the great American Southwest. I bid you all good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be on God's green earth and all its time zones, each one covered like blankets by this program, Midnight in the Desert. I am Art Bell. Hey there. We have rules. Definitely have rules. 2 of them. No bad language, because nobody needs it, and only 1 call per show. That's it. All right, I've got a couple of items for you here at the beginning of the show. In the conservative United States, citing God, invoking God's authority, a county clerk denied marriage licenses to gay couples again on Tuesday in direct defiance of federal courts. And he vowed, I'm not going to resign. I don't care if I get a fine or go to jail. It's not a light issue for me. That's probably where he's headed. He says for him it is a, quoting here, heaven and hell decision, end quote. So that's the conservative United States. And now the liberal Vatican, not reported at all really on the cable networks. This one is a head shaker. Pope Francis is applying his vision of a merciful church to women who have had abortions, easing their path toward forgiveness, saying that he realizes that, some women had no choice or felt they had no choice and made this agonizing and painful decision. And so he published a letter Tuesday in the Holy See in which the Pope said, he was allowing all rank-and-file priests to grant absolution during the Holy Year of Mercy, he has proclaimed, and that will run from December 8th, 2015, until November 20th of 2016. So, the liberal Vatican is, on one hand, we're going one way, the Vatican is going the other, saying that during that time, only during that time, can you be absolved from having had an abortion. Things really are a-changing, huh? The market changing, too. Downside, I'm afraid. Almost 500 points down. Same fear, China. China is slowing a little faster than they thought it was, and that's going to not be good stuff for the market. Well, coming up in a moment, we are going to talk about ghosts. We are specifically going to talk to Patrick Burns, who is going to talk about ghosts. He has quite a number of EVPs for us. He is a ghost investigator. Going to be a pretty wild week, actually. Tomorrow night, Peter Davenport will be here. Then we'll have something about werewolves coming up on the following show. I don't want to give it all away, but it's going to be good. This little thing from me. Roman Senator Pliny, the younger, who died way back just 113 years after the death of Jesus, told a ghost tale so haunting that it survives today. It seems there was at Athens a large and roomy house, which, had a bad name, so nobody could live there. In the dead of night, a noise resembling the clashing of iron was frequently heard. If you listened more attentively, it actually sounded like the rattling of chains. Disturbances that led to the appearance of a specter, the form of an old man, of extremely emaciated and squalid appearance, with a long beard and disheveled hair, rattling the chains on his feet and hands. Well, needless to say, that house was abandoned quickly and had to be rented out for on the cheap. Then suddenly a philosopher named Athenodorus heard the story. He reportedly rented the house, on the cheap I assume, and immediately confronted the ghost. The ghost appeared and rattled around before vanishing. Athendorius calmly marked the spot where the ghost had vanished. Smart, huh? In the morning, he ordered the spot be dug up, and as the story goes, they found the skeleton of a man in chains. It was found right there. For the body, having lain a considerable time in the ground, was putrefied and moldered away from the chains. Nevertheless, after being given a proper burial, the ghost departed, and the house was haunted no more. That's from the Harvard Classics, by the way. All right, coming up in a moment, paranormal investigator Patrick Burns is best known for his starring role on True TV's, formerly Court TV's, Haunting Evidence. He was there for 3 seasons, actually, able to apply his vast knowledge of electronics and computer systems toward the goal of documenting paranormal activity. Most recently, he has been seen as a recurring guest on Judge Zach Bagans' Paranormal Challenge on the Travel Channel. Burns is one of the most respected and in-demand paranormal researchers today, conducting investigations, lecturing on many, many topics, and headlining on college campuses literally from coast to coast. His numerous technical skills include a mastery of advanced audio filtering techniques for enhancing faint, and they are faint, EVP or electronic voice recordings, which frankly I consider to be evidence of the presence of the afterlife. And if there is a more important question in our lives, all of our lives, than whether or not there's anything that comes next, I can't imagine what it would be. Wouldn't that be the most important question you would want answered? I know it certainly is for me. Midnight in the Desert, stand by.
Take a walk on the wild side of midnight. From the Kingdom of Nye, this is Midnight in the Desert with Art Bell. Please call the show at 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952-CALL-ART.
I love this song. It's just the way she belts it out. Unbelievable stuff. All right, everybody. Let's do it, shall we? How's that for immediacy? Patrick, I would like to welcome you to the show. I think from, where is it? You're in Georgia, South Carolina, somewhere down there.
Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
It's late in Savannah.
It is. It's a little bit after midnight here, the witching hour.
Okay. So what in the world got you into chasing ghosts?
You know, Art, that goes back almost 30 years ago to the day. August 7th, 1985, one of my brothers was killed in a tragic automobile accident in Chicago, where I grew up. And very much in the beginning, my interest in the paranormal, what pulled me into this world, was a spiritual journey. I was looking for an answer. I was looking for reassurance, the existence of a spirit world. You know, we were, of course, surrounded, my family was surrounded by friends and family that reassured us, just continue to go to church and pray and know that you will be reunited with Billy someday. And that wasn't enough for me. I wanted an experience. I wanted something that would demonstrate to me the existence of a spirit world and afterlife, and would reassure me that I might be reunited not only with Billy but my other loved ones at some point. So when I got into this 30 years ago, it was very much a spiritual journey.
Hey, Patrick, I'm in it for the same exact reasons. I'm 70 years old, right? Well, I guess you didn't know that. I am. I'm 70. So, I can hear the footsteps, and I want to know if there is something else, or if, it's just wink out time. I can't think of any bigger question for all of mankind. Can you?
I can't. And it is indeed the oldest question, of mankind. What happens after we pass on? So that was my initial brush with it, was a spiritual journey. And as I tell people today, I said, my gears have shifted a little bit, and now I've demonstrated to myself, I think, the existence of a spirit world. I've convinced myself, and now I try to convince others. I try to document this activity using scientific methods, or as scientific as we can be, because as I'm sure you know, we run into a problem here based on the foundation, the cornerstone of science is the scientific method. And according to mainstream science, if you're going to present something scientifically for review, you'd better be able to repeat your results under controlled observations. And there's paranormal activity doesn't perform on command. It doesn't repeat under the stringent and strict demands and guidelines that science demands, so we're kind of left in limbo here. It's a catch-22.
It doesn't repeat on order. In other words,
correct.
For example, you cannot order EVPs to happen. However, they are a repeatable phenomena. In other words, I've had others on that do EVPs. Now I have you on. We're going to be doing EVPs tonight. And while they can't be ordered to appear, it is a repeatable phenomena. And so it is one of the things that I think comes closer to being scientifically verifiable than anything else.
I completely agree with you. And as I'm not sure if you knew this from my bio, my current position down here in Savannah is I do lead a walking tour as a tour guide here, and I take folks on a historic ghost tour throughout the historic district of Savannah, and I tell people the local lore, the ghost stories, and then I add an extra dimension, an element, a twist on my tour that most of the other tours companies aren't doing, and I pull out the recorders. We try to actually document activity, and
why is the American South, Patrick, more seemingly more haunted than other parts of the country? The American South, I don't know, Charleston, Savannah, you guys down there just seem to have a lot of paranormal stuff going for you.
Absolutely. Charleston, Savannah, St. Augustine, Key West, New Orleans. It's like the whole southeastern seaboard seems to be littered with these paranormal active hotspots.
Why?
I've definitely noticed that. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's because people in the South are more open-minded to this sort of thing than they are elsewhere in the United States. Ghost stories are part of Southern folklore here. They always have been. And I think Southerners maybe embrace their haunted heritage a little bit more than other places. And in Savannah, we lay claim, we call ourselves America's most haunted city. It's believed to be just the amazing things that have happened here. There's a lot of history that took place in Savannah over its almost 300 years of existence. Some good things happened here, a lot of not so good things happened. But Savannah in particular is known throughout the paranormal circles as the city built on its dead. And
the city built on its dead?
City built on its dead, and people ask me, what do you mean by that? Well, throughout the historic district, there are always
kind of like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Sort of like that, I guess. Yeah, Savannah is, for all intents and purposes, one great big cemetery. When the city started out, when it was founded in 1733. They would bury their dead out in the forest beyond the boundaries of the city on its south side. They would, the first cemetery was reserved for white Protestants. So if you weren't a white Protestant, your coffin was carried out into the woods. They found a clearing in the trees. They dug a grave for you. And then eventually, of course, Savannah's population began to swell. More settlers began to arrive, and the settlers would push further and further into the forest. And when they came across these grave sites, if they couldn't find a family to claim them, they just paved over them. They built on top of these graves. So when Savannah is referred to as a city built on its dead, we mean it in the very literal sense of that word. And I think that's probably the biggest catalyst for Savannah's haunted reputation, is the fact that it is, for all intents and purposes, one great big unexhumed cemetery.
Yeah, okay. The problem that I have with this is that that would seem to imply that the spirit, or whatever is left after we die, remains in or near the body. And I just don't want to even contemplate that possibility at all.
No, we want to think that when we die, we do not pass go. We go directly to heaven, right? We don't linger around.
We do.
But it's an interesting idea, Art, if you think about it, because we as people, we're materialistic, right? There is no more material possession to us than our own body. And imagine if somebody's afraid of dying, afraid of letting go. Mm. What are they going to cling on to more than anything? Maybe their earthly remains are what they really cling on to and latch onto.
Maybe their house, maybe their loved ones.
Absolutely. Sure. They're this is all conjecture. This is all, speculative of as to why somebody might become a ghost versus crossing over, like we all think and hope we're supposed to do when we die. And one thing I want to clarify, Art, is I don't profess to be an expert. I believe in the,
Then how come I read all that stuff about you being an expert?
I'm not an expert. I don't believe there are any experts in the paranormal art. I think we're all trying to figure out everything, and we have a lot of opinions. There's a lot of ideas, but I'm not going to sit here and say that my ideas or opinions are hold any more validity or weight than anyone else's.
All right. Let me clear something up for the audience. You do run a tour.
Yes, sir.
There, but I take it you have not written books yet. Have you?
Actually, I have. I co-authored a book with my wife, Marley Gibson. We wrote this together about 6 or 7 years ago. It's a book called The Other Side, A Teen's Guide to Ghost Hunting and the Paranormal.
A teen's guide?
A teen's guide to ghost hunting and the paranormal. My wife wrote a fictional novelization, a series called The Ghost Huntress. It's sort of a modern twist on Nancy Drew mysteries. Nancy Drew meets ghost hunters, quite frankly. And she and her publisher came up with this idea to write a nonfiction companion to her series because of all the programs that were coming out. You have Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. We wanted to make sure, or rather Marley and her agent thought it would be a good idea to get the next generation of ghost hunters started on the right foot and sort of show them some do's and don'ts that we've learned over the ways. And a lot of it is common sense in the book. Don't trespass, don't go out on an investigation while you're intoxicated. A lot of it is common sense like that, but a good portion of the book, probably 95% of the book, is some of the techniques that we've learned over the years. How to record EVP, how to secure a location before you begin an investigation.
No, after you've had a successful investigation, then you need drinks.
Exactly. Hold off on the spirits until after the ghosts, right?
Yes. Okay. So you've been at this for a long time.
Quite a while, in different capacities. My journey, my brushing with the paranormal 30 years ago did not mean I started off investigating. I started studying up on the sort of thing. I started reading about topics more and more. My first real brush with the paranormal happened about 1989. And my brothers had a tavern down in Chicago that I helped them manage and run. And it was an old building. The building dated back, I believe, to at least the 1880s. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the few buildings in that area that was not claimed by the Great Chicago Fire. And I would help them out. I wasn't old enough to tend bar at that time, but I would help them out by cleaning the bar after it closed. So I would be alone in the bar. We lived in the apartment upstairs from it. I lived downstairs, or I would be downstairs in the bar by myself for several hours cleaning up, and I always felt like somebody was watching me. I always had this weird feeling that somebody was watching me. And one night I was sitting at the bar. I was having a Coke, taking a break, and I was turned sideways, facing down the bar. And of course, we had mirrors behind the bar where the top shelf liquor was kept. And in the mirror, in my peripheral vision, I saw very clearly the apparition of a man looking back at me, a reflection. And he looked to be Latino male, long, dark, kind of greasy black hair. He had a very thin mustache and a goatee. And I saw, and of course I turned to look, and there was nothing there. And I thought, I'm really losing my mind tonight, right? And so I kind of gave it no real thought. And a couple of weeks later, I had a friend of mine, Gene, was in the bar with me one evening. He was helping me clean up. I was in a band at the time, and I think we had some recording studio time, so he was helping me get done with my job early so we could get out of there. He was sitting in the exact same chair that I had been that night. Now, I haven't told anybody about this encounter. And as we're sitting there talking, all of a sudden he stops. He starts looking behind the bar, back and forth. And I said, what? And he said, I could have sworn I saw somebody in the mirror there, a reflection of somebody looking at me. And I said, describe them. He said, it looked like a Mexican male. I said, wow, thank you. Okay, I'm not losing my mind, right? Now it gets even more interesting. I dated a girl for a short period of time who claimed to be a psychic medium, and this was before I really knew anything about that. You know, I don't know if I really believed her or if I thought she was a little loopy, maybe a little bit of both. But we stepped onto the property one night. She was coming over to visit me, and we went in the back gate on the back of the property. And the second she crossed the threshold of the property, the second she stepped through the gate, she shrieked. And I said, what? She said, somebody was murdered here. I said, what? She said, I see this clear as day in my eye. I can see it. At least one person, maybe even two, at least one person. She said it was horrible. And I thought, okay, hadn't heard anything about this before, and I kind of dismissed it. And then finally, this is where all the dots connect. We lived next door, 2 doors down from a convenience store, and I was in there early in the morning one night. And the sales clerk was an older gentleman named Charles, and he and I were chatting one night. And he said, boy, you and your brothers, you know, you've really done the number with that bar. You've really turned it into something really nice and classy and special. He said, I remember this neighborhood when it was, was predominantly Latino. He said it was a rough neighborhood back in the 70s. And he said, I'll never forget the night that those two guys shot each other in the bar.
Wow.
I said, what? He said, oh, yeah, it was all over the news. They each pulled a gun on each other, boom, boom, shot each other dead right there he said there were police cars all over the place,
sure,
all over the news. So the points connect, the circle becomes complete at that point. And I was like, wow, unbelievable. You know, all of these elements connect together, and finally you have a complete picture.
All right, Patrick, let me ask you this. Do you think that
yes,
a ghost is, in fact, definitely something that was at one time human, or is it possible we're dealing with a combination of things that we don't know about?
I think it's absolutely possible that it's a combination of things. I know some people demons, possibly. I don't know. You know, I think the whole demon element in the paranormal is really kind of overplayed. I know a lot of people go in and that they assume that because something bad happens, somebody gets shoved or somebody gets scratched, that they automatically attribute anything that's unpleasant to demonic activity. Who's to say? I think we're putting the cart before the horse in this instance. I think we're trying to run before we can walk, and before we go assigning titles to stuff, we need to understand exactly what it is we're dealing with here. We're not even sure that ghosts exist at this point. So by categorizing it and labeling stuff as saying, well, that's demonic and that's a poltergeist, I think it's very premature. Until we have a better grasp on what it is that we're dealing with, we simply don't know.
I know I attribute my scratches mostly to demons. Some of them are just, good sex, but mostly demons. All right, so we are going to be playing EVPs tonight. These are scary. They really are scary. I mean, hearing voices from the other side is scary. Now, let's see, what can I ask you about were all of these recorded by you?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
Yes,
what modality do you use to record them? Tell me about it. What do you use? I use, of all things, as you probably know, and as many of your listeners know, recording EVP, it's not the actual process of making these recordings is not difficult at all. It involves pressing record on an audio recorder and asking questions. Well, I'm asking what kind of recorder you use.
Right, exactly. That's the real catch. That's the real trick, is finding that adequate recorder. And for me, it was a search for many, many years.
All right, spill the beans.
And I came across this purely by accident. I have an old, obsolete BlackBerry smartphone.
A
that
BlackBerry.
I don't even use it as a phone anymore. I have the radio turned off on it. It's a glorified audio recorder. Not kidding you. The voice note app that comes with this particular phone.
It's digital, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. I know.
I knew there'd be a use for those things before it was all over, before the world ended, and you found one.
Yep.
Hold on. Patrick. It just figures a BlackBerry. Where else? Midnight in the desert. EVPs tonight. Prepare yourself.
Some velvet morning when I'm straight.
In that darkest time between dusk and dawn, from the high desert, it's Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert. Now, here's Art.
I realize that it is cruel and wrong of me to laugh about BlackBerry. So consider me personally chastened. Sorry about that. I don't know why. It gets me. Patrick, welcome back. Patrick Burns is my guest, and unless he got angry and left because of the BlackBerry laugh. So we're about to get down to it, but so that is what you use, BlackBerry, and that's fine. It's a digital recorder, which is interesting because you get, in the old days, people used reel-to-reel recorders and tape sets and all that stuff, and of course that added so damn much noise to already hard to hear things that what you're using is. Wait a minute, I'm getting something here, Patrick. I don't know anything about you, do I? Except what was written here from my producer, right? Never known you or anything. And yet I sense you're the cat story in the news. You're a cat person, right?
Absolutely.
All right. It's like coming to me. Does the name Maddie mean anything to you?
It does indeed.
How about Boo?
Are you cold reading me, Art?
Maddie and Boo are your cats, right?
They are. Yeah. They're indeed.
Yeah. I'll just let you wonder how I know that.
Probably because there's 500 pictures of them on social media.
No, it's because of the wormhole. Somebody sent me a message.
That'll do it too.
But I wanted to sound like I was, Where'd you learn the phrase cold reading?
I'm sorry, say again. I missed that.
Where did you learn the phrase cold reading?
What about the phrase cold reading?
No, where did you learn the phrase cold reading?
Well, I do consider myself to be a skeptic in the true sense of the word when it comes to the paranormal. I've certainly had my experiences.
Okay.
And that sort of thing. And I know that I believe that some people might have a touch of the sixth sense. As it were, and then I think there are a certain, without mentioning names, a certain contingency of the population in the paranormal community that not so much so, and some people that will go out there and actively try to deceive and prime themselves with information from the quote-unquote great beyond ahead of time before they go live in front of an audience.
How long do you normally, for example, take your device to a location and just let it run, or how do you do this?
I used to do that, Art. I got my first digital recorder, I guess about maybe 10 or 11 years ago. And back then, I think it had a maximum record time of something like 4 hours, which back then was unheard of. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can go to an investigation. I can let the recorder run the whole time. And then I realized at the end of the investigation, I'm like, holy crud, I've got a 4-hour recording to listen to now. I have to set aside another 4 hours of my life to go through and listen to this. And it was impractical. And then I started cutting it down to a shorter recording session of maybe 15 minutes. And even that seemed to be a little bit too much. And then I noticed other investigators that concentrate on EVP were working in what they call burst sessions for maybe perhaps only 2 or 3 minutes. And I've actually even taken that to the extreme. I will do, my typical recording session will run 60 seconds to a minute and a half. Usually no longer. Very seldom do I go longer than 2 minutes on a recording session because I've found that if I'm going to get a response, I'm going to get it within that first minute.
Wow, that's a wow. I mean, most of my other people that do this have spent hours and hours at it and listening for it. So there you go.
Yeah, all right, I think they're working too hard. I don't think they need to do that. I think once you get a knack for doing this, you're either going to get a response in the first minute or so, or you're not going to get it.
I think that's excellent. A lot of people in the audience can give it a try. I really, really encourage people to try this themselves. And the ones that have actually emailed me back and said, "Oh my God, it works." And so, something's going on here. There's no question about it. All right, let's rock and roll. Let's do it. Set it up for me. What are we about to hear?
What we're about to hear, this is a recording that I made. This was actually not on my tour, and that is one of the things I think I had mentioned, that on my walking tour I actually do demonstrations of EVPs for my audience on a nightly basis here in Savannah. This was an exception. I actually arrived for my tour accidentally an hour early. This was back in December, and I got there an hour early, and I had time to kill. So what I did is I took a stroll down to one of our historic squares here in Savannah called Calhoun Square. It's about a block away from where I start my tour. And Calhoun Square is historically significant in Savannah because it is the location, we actually have evidence to back this up. It is the location of the former slave cemetery back when Savannah was expanding. And back when this was a slave cemetery, it was literally a mass grave that was out in the forest. It was not marked. It was basically, as a slave would pass away, they would carry them out there. No wooden pine box or anything. They would probably wrap them up in a sheet or burlap, put them in this mass grave. And by some estimates, there are anywhere from 1,000 to as many as 6,000 African slave graves in this area, and they were never moved. The graves are still there. They were built on top of. And people ask, how is that possible? How do they not find these graves when they're breaking ground and building the foundations? And that's because here in the South, very few buildings, especially in Savannah, have subterranean foundations. Most of them are the foundation is stacked on top of the surface. They don't dig down. So you could very easily build a structure or a road or a building on top of these graves and never know what's underneath.
So that's where you got it.
I'm sorry?
That's where you got what we're about to hear.
Absolutely. This was in front of a spooky uninhabited house that sits on that square. And I was there by myself. But because it was before the tour, I had a chance to experiment a little bit. And this was actually recorded on my trusty BlackBerry as well. I remember that the BlackBerry has I guess you could call it a video camera function on it. It doesn't record very high quality video, but I thought maybe I might use it to capture visual as well as audio evidence. So I fired up the video camera, filmed around with a little LED light in front, and on playback, I realized that the recording, it was essentially worthless. The range of the LED light was maybe 2 feet, and it was all pixelated. I couldn't make anything out, so I kind of dismissed it. Completely forgot about this recording, and then I stumbled across it about 2 months later when I was clearing files off of this SD card. I stumbled across this video file amongst my audio files called Test. I was like, what the heck is this? And I started playing it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That video file I did in front of the house that night before my tour. Didn't see anything in it. So I'm about ready to hit delete. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I may have reviewed it visually. I did not review it and listen to it to find out if I couldn't hear something in it. And I'm glad I did. I call this one the EVP that nearly got away, because the night that I stood in front of this house with a video recording device trying to capture visual evidence, you will hear the sound of a voice that says, "See me."
All right. Is that all we're going to hear, or are we going to hear you? Okay. All right.
You'll hear me say I'm doing a test recording with the video, and then you'll hear the EVP. I loop it 3 times at the end.
Okay, excellent.
So you'll hear it in succession 3 times.
Fire 1.
All right.
I don't hear much of anything yet.
You don't hear much of anything?
No.
Can we try that?
No. It's it sounds like.
Is it any better?
You're not. There's some button you're not turning on, Patrick.
Okay. Well, these are the same settings we used when we tested it out earlier today.
Right.
I am maxed out there on my audio.
Those are famous last words. It works.
Let's try this. Let's try this. This might be better. Let's see if this.
Doing a quick test recording here. The video camera.
Oh, I heard that. I sure did hear that. It did seem to say in a digital kind of weird way, "See me."
Yes.
Play it again.
Doing a quick test recording here. The video camera.
That so creeps me out. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can't do this long a setup for each one, but man, that is so creepy. Okay. It is what it is. I have so many questions when I hear these things. I mean, to think of a spirit lingering and then probably pushing really hard to be able to beg you, apparently, to see that person.
Right.
Could you tell if it was male or female or child or what?
It sounds like it might be male. And this location, you're going to hear a number of EVP recordings tonight that I have made in front of this location. This is my grand finale on my tour. This is where we end the tour each night, and it is it's just off the hook. It is just unbelievable in terms of the voices that we get here. We get male voices, we get female voices, and a lot of them, they seem to be the same voices. It's not the same one that will communicate with me every night, but the female voices seem to be the same female voices coming through. The male voices seem to be have similar characteristics as well.
Do you get children?
Yes. Yeah. Do I have children? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very common with EVPs and very upsetting. And everybody wonders why there are so many children in EVPs. I mean, even statistically, you would think fewer children than adults die, right?
Right. You would think so, right? And I agree that is this very disheartening to think that a small child might be left behind, might be lingering around here. It's as a parent of 2 boys, I find that very, very, disconcerting to think that children might be left behind.
There you have it.
Very, very tragic. This one, you're asking about children. This one's the one that I end my tours with each night. This is the one that really I tell people this is the EVP that will haunt them, that they will hear echoing in their ears as they lay down to go to sleep at night. And a little bit of background about this one. I had a woman with me on my tour who had her daughter with her that night. And she was very protective of her daughter. And there are a couple of ghost stories that we tell around town about these children that died these tragic deaths, due to the negligence of adults. And this woman was very irate. Every time I would tell one of these stories, even though a couple of them are probably urban legend, more than factual, this woman was visually shaken. Every time I would tell one of these stories, she was just very, very upset. And so she was giving off this vibe. She's like, where was her mother? Where was her mother to protect her from these people? She was giving off this very nurturing, protective, motherly vibe. Yeah. And on this recording that I did right after telling one of these stories, you're going to hear the voice of a little girl that approaches and says, "Mommy." Listen to how loud this is in comparison even to my own voice.
Final EVP session of the evening, starting at 10:07 p.m. on October 4th, 2014. We are standing outside 432 Abercorn on Calhoun Square.
Woo. All right, I'll sure give that one to you. All right, well, you've got to put that down real quick after we do these. My goodness gracious, what a sound. That was clearly a child, too. Even though it was in a whisper, you could tell it was in a child. How do you know that, well, how can I put this, Patrick? How do you know that these are not people on the tour that are being recorded?
Well, I do a very good job of noting other sounds. And I mean, these are, with good reason, you know, people do ask me that all the time. Recording on the street, on Savannah, while there's other traffic going on, there's other tours going on, it does create challenges.
I will say that it doesn't sound like a child lost on a tour looking for mommy. Not even close. Go ahead, give it to us again, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Let's hear it one more time.
Final EVP session of the evening, starting at 10:07 p.m. on October 4th, 2014. We were standing outside 432 Abercorn on Calhoun Square.
Wow. Yeah, clearly a child trying to reach mommy from not right next to her, and not lost. That sounds like a child from the other side, sure enough.
Latching on to that woman who was so protective of adolescent children, adolescent females. That's what I think. Because that was the night. That was the woman who was with me on the tour that night. That's the one that really gets everybody. I play that one for everyone, and they're
gets me. So
you see eyes open like saucers.
Yeah, of course. What do you think this means? And we're going to play a whole lot more of these, but what do you think this means about the other side? Do you have any thoughts on it?
I have thoughts, Art, but, you know, as I tell everybody, I got into the paranormal to search for answers. And the irony is I have more questions today than I did when I started out. I have more, I find that I know less today than I thought I did when I got started doing paranormal research. As we go further and further in, I mean, you can speculate on these things, but, you know, so much of what we find seems to contradict the other evidence that we find that comes out, you know, and we don't want to think of children being left behind. Mm-hmm. You know, some people have said you're not talking with spirits, you're talking with demons. They're trying to deceive you. Well, again, that goes back to what I said earlier. I think we're putting the cart before the horse there. We're jumping to conclusions just because we're uncomfortable with something.
Let's do one more before the top of the hour here.
All right, let me pull up this in my list here.
Okay.
This one was recorded outside of an old antique shop here in Savannah. And this was an interesting stop on the tour. It was never really designed to be a tour stop. It happened to be along the way as we were going from one location to the other. And I had my wife Marley with me that night, and she said, hey, Patrick, let's stop in front of the old antique shop and try to do EVP. And of course, the reasoning for this, our whole construct with this was some people believe not only can a location be haunted, but maybe a relic of the past, an object, an antique might be haunted. So if spirit were to be attached to any of these antiques, our thing was, let's invite spirit that might be associated with any of these things to come out and speak with us.
Okay.
And in this recording, in the first recording I asked, I said, did any of these relics belong to you in life? And the response that I got back was no, which surprised me. So I thought, well, that's good. Let's do a follow-up recording. And this is the follow-up recording. You'll hear me ask out loud. You indicated none of these relics belonged to you in life, so why are you still here? And you will hear a voice that says, hey, you, come inside. Ha ha ha. And
really?
I loop it 3 times for you to hear it again. So let's give it a listen.
Okay, our next EVP session at 9:59 p.m., November 30th, 2014. Standing outside Arthur Smith Antiques. A voice came through to us just a moment ago. Thank you for communicating with us. You indicated nothing in the store belonged to you. So why are you here?
Pretty weird stuff, all right. So far, most of them sound whispered.
Yes.
Okay, well, I've had others on who do EVPs, and some of them are angry EVPs. I mean,
yes.
Well, we'll pick this up after the break, so hold tight. Very angry EVPs, and the answer seems to come back, well, angry on this side, angry on that side. As you are on Earth, you are there. This is Midnight.
Don't bother asking for explanation. She'll just tell you that she came in the year of the cat.
It's not radio, but it is what's next. Exclusively on the Dark Matter Digital Network, Midnight in the Desert, with Art Bell. Now, here's Art.
Here I am. My guest is Patrick Burns, and the first thing we're going to do, I think, is repeat the last one we did again. And what does it say, Patrick?
The last one that we played, that was outside Arthur Smith Antiques. That's the one that says, "Hey, come here, you."
Okay. All right. Let's do that again, please.
All right.
Okay, our next EVP session at 9:59 p.m., November 30th, 2014. Standing outside Arthur Smith Antiques. A voice came through to us just a moment ago. Thank you for communicating with us. You indicated nothing in the store belonged to you. So why are you here?
Yep. So you do a short burst of recording, and you get a response like no, and then you immediately go back and ask a question, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. If you've got the attention of something on the other side, you want to keep it and see if you can get more.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
All right.
Indeed.
All right. Let's move on.
Okay.
If we can. People will have questions for you, and we've got a lot to get through here, so
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay. So you want me to move on to the next recording with that?
Sure.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
one,
set it up. Give us an idea of.
Sure. Well, this one I had recorded outside of the same antique shop, actually. I was intrigued. Something wanted me to go inside. I recorded another EVP, which I don't have queued up. I don't think it's going to be good for radio, but I got a similar recording, a similar voice a couple of days after that.
Oh, wait a minute. When you say that, you
inside.
mean, what do you mean good for radio? You mean bad language?
Not going to be loud enough for your listeners to hear.
Okay.
Even with amplification.
Okay.
But I got a follow up that said, "Come inside." After saying, "Hey, come here, you, come inside," seemingly something wants me to go inside the shop. I was going to go inside the shop, but they had been closed actually for some remodeling. They had some water damage they experienced. And when I was looking up the phone number for this place, I found the obituary for the man who had passed away, who had owned the shop, had passed away back in 2008. I went there. Actually, it turns out that the anniversary of his death was coming up in a couple of days after I found the obituary. I took my tour group there that night, and this is the recording that resulted. You will hear me say out loud, we're here on a very special night. We're here on the anniversary of the death of the man who once owned the shop. And I ask out loud, I say, "Do you have a message that you would like for me to give to your family?" And after I say message, I pause for a moment to draw breath. And in that pause, you will hear a voice that says, "I'm with God. I'm with God."
All right.
I loop it 3 times. Let's hear it.
Our next recording at 9:34 p.m. outside Arthur Smith Antiques on the 18th of April, 2015. Tonight is a very, very special night. This is the anniversary of the death of the original owner of this shop, Arthur Smith Jr., or as he was known to his friends, Artie. Do you want me to give a message to your family, the current owners of the shop?
Well, that certainly came through clearly enough.
Yeah.
How many? I have a question. When you're recording these, Patrick,
Yes.
there are generally all kinds of people around you at the time?
Absolutely. I'll have a group of people with me. There are cars going by.
Right.
There are other tours going on, and obviously it's not ideal conditions to record under. There's a lot of contamination. But what I find is I develop an ear for this. The more I do it, I've developed an ear. And I know, I can tell by listening back, I can say, okay, that's EVP, that's somebody talking off in the distance. That's somebody a half a block away, screaming at the top of their lungs. I do a good job of tagging the external sounds as well as I come across them. But you develop an ear for this after a while, after you do it as many times as I have. It starts to become basically, just second nature for you. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
I guess so. I think a lot of people would hear this kind of thing, and it might startle them, or they might totally ignore it. I mean, just as noise. Unless you listen very carefully, you can't really make out, your brain wouldn't make out anything but noise.
Well, and I think also what we're suffering through here is, the connection, the audio connection, retransmitting it over. What I do is I make these recordings on the spot, and then I have a pretty high quality speaker external speaker that I plug the device into, and I play them back. And I think maybe we're getting some if it's not coming through as clearly.
Trust me, it's coming through very clearly. This is digital radio all the way to the listener's ear, so. Excellent. It's coming through very clearly. That's not the problem. I'm just saying that unless you were listening for it, if you listen back to a recording that you were, I don't know, making a recording for whatever reason, you'd hear that, your brain would hear that as noise, wouldn't necessarily register it as what it is.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
What I can clearly hear.
You have to have your ear tuned for it. You have to be listening for it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Most people would just dismiss that as background noise.
Sure.
But we're actively listening for it. We're listening for these lower fidelity, these lower amplitude sounds to come through on us. So you definitely, this is part of the reason also that I don't do extended recording sessions anymore. If you're going more than a couple of minutes listening to one of these recordings back, with listening on your ear on edge, it becomes fatiguing after a while. To try and maintain your concentration and try to pick out. I admit it, I have a short attention span. After a couple of minutes, I'm getting bored. I'm thinking about, what am I going to have for dinner, or what's, my mind starts to wander. So, it's for those of us who are ADD, I suppose listening to shorter samples like this is easier. All right,
fine. Let's try yet another.
All right.
Are these all at the antique store?
Yeah. Yeah, those last two were at the antique shop. This one, quite simply, is nothing more than creepy, cackling female laughter that you'll hear. And you want to talk? We were mentioning a little while ago. You had said how the EVPs come through as breathy, whispery voices.
Mm-hmm. And
people ask, do you ever get actual vocalizations of an actual voice?
Right.
We do. It's much more rare, but it does happen. This is an example of a vocalization. You're going to hear a very, very hearty female laughter coming through on this recording. So we'll go ahead and cue it up here.
The 18th at 11:05 p.m. Standing outside 432 Abercorn. Who wants to sleep?
That, that sounded, what did that sound like? A kind of an interesting kind of laugh, actually. Go ahead, do it again, please. I'm not getting it. Hello? Not getting Patrick now either. Hello, Patrick. My goodness. There's an interesting little sign that says there's trouble with this call. Skype is, test something very quickly. He just totally went away. And I mean totally went away. Let's see what we've got here. I think everything is okay on this end. Yes, it is. So what do we do? let's end this call and call him back. This time I'll call Patrick, and we'll see if we have any better luck. So, that was kind of a strange laugh. I wanted to hear it again, and I'm sure I will. And it's indicating there's a problem with the internet connection between myself and Patrick. So, it looks like Patrick may be offline. That's what I'm getting at the moment. He's not trying to call me back, so, well, yes, he is. Let's give it a shot. All right, Patrick, it seems you went away there.
I'm back.
All right. Welcome back. Did you hit the wrong button, or did you...
No, I think it's just a ghost in the machine.
Cheap line. All right, let's hear that laugh again. Let's try it again. Maybe the laugh did it. I know.
Okay, maybe.
Okay. It almost sounds to me like a false laugh.
False laugh.
Yeah, a false laugh. I don't know. If I heard somebody laugh like that, I'd question their sanity. It's kind of
right, indeed.
Weird.
Yeah,
it
sounds like it's forced laughter, they're not playing with a full deck.
The first thing I'm going to note right now is that your EVPs have a distinctly different. Do you have that pot still up, Patrick?
I do not.
Because I'm getting an echo. Big echo.
You're still getting an echo?
I am.
Uh-oh. Let's see. Is that any better?
Yes. So far, so good.
Okay.
That's better.
All right.
So I'm not sure what that was all about. I was going to note that your EVPs have a very distinctly different quality than the EVPs recorded by the other group that I have on the show. They're just different. That's all there is. Not bad, not wrong, just different. And they all have a sort of a, I can't quite put my finger on it. Somebody will as we hear them. I don't know if they're all the same or if we'll hear a different quality of stuff as we go on. But that laugh was weird. Let's move on and tell me where you got this one. Okay.
This next one that I'm going to bring up here, this one was recorded in a cemetery. It was actually recorded in a cemetery. This one dates back a few years. I'm dipping into my old catalog here, as it were, for this one. This one came back. This was probably recorded a good 10 years ago in a cemetery in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And in this, walking through the cemetery was about 11 o'clock in the morning, not at night, 11 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And in this, we were battling fire ants. There were fire ant mounds everywhere throughout the cemetery. And you hear me in this recording. I say, "Oh, look, there's more fire ant mounds." Mm-hmm. And you'll hear a female voice say, "Be nice." Okay. Be nice? All right.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
Oh, that was very, very clear. And I'm going to have you do it one more time, and then we're going to go to break. Play that again, please.
Absolutely.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
A little more fire ant mounds.
Freeman.
That's really something. All right. My guest is an amazing guy, Patrick Burns. And that came so fast. Did you notice how quickly that came? It wasn't a response. It was a catch, but not a response. Had nothing to do, in my opinion, with what he said. Boy, that came fast. Midnight in the Desert. I'm Art Bell.
That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
No call screening. No waiting on hold. No requirement to kiss Art's ring. Just good talk. Join Art by calling 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952. Call Art.
Well, okay, so Elizabeth says, I'm listening intently and cannot hear these EVPs. I think that Patrick needs to change his equipment. The GIS group provided very clear EVPs. These are much more difficult to hear. I disagree, Elizabeth. I hear them just fine. Now, if you're listening on a phone or an iPad or something like that, I would say get some headphones. You need headphones. But I am hearing the EVPs just fine. And I heard that "be nice" very, very clearly. So let's try another and see how we hear it. Patrick?
Yes.
Fire away.
All right. This one, we're dipping into my my old catalog here. These are some of these recordings predate my tenure on Haunting Evidence. This is another one. It was conducted at a restaurant called Anthony's Fine Dining in Atlanta, and you're going to hear a voice in this recording that says, "Oh my God."
Now, I wonder if Elizabeth could hear that. Do that one more time for me, please. And remember, turn that pot down right away when you're done.
You got it.
Okay. Okay, now I'm not getting anything. Here it is.
Okay, try it again. Did you?
Yep, okay. No problem hearing that at all. I hope Elizabeth heard it. Some people are saying they're having difficulty, and I don't know why, because at my point, it's very, very clear, even though it's sort of a hushed version of "Oh my God." It nevertheless is very clear to me.
Well, I think you're also right. If people are listening on a it has to do with their playback hardware.
Yeah, I'm telling people constantly. We come to them in extreme fidelity in stereo. In fact, if what we're sending is stereo, they'll get it that way. It's really, really, really good fidelity. But if it's coming out of a little teeny speaker, not so good. That's why I keep urging everybody get some earbuds and plug them into your whatever, and it'll be very clear, particularly for this kind of thing. So there is a lot in the hardware. I'm sure you know that, Patrick, having worked with it all the time.
Yes, there is.
Maybe it's just your damn BlackBerry.
Maybe so. I tell people, I say when they come on my tour, I say, if you want copies of these files, email me. I'll send them to you and listen to them with headphones on. A lot of times when you put headphones on, you'll hear other stuff in there that we couldn't make out.
I know. All right. Let's keep going, or we'll have no time for calls. And I want
All right. All right. This one was also recorded at that same restaurant in Atlanta, Anthony's Fine Dining. We caught a series of EVPs of what sounded like cats inside the restaurant. Obviously, it's a restaurant. There shouldn't be any animals running around inside the restaurant. There's no crawl space. There's no basement where cats could have slipped in underneath, and we accidentally recorded them. This one sounds like cats getting into a fight. Right, go. Yeah. So go ahead and listen to this one.
Okay, so I'm not so sure I like that one at all. Was that really cats? Do you think, or could that have been something more? My mind wants to believe that's cats.
Yeah, well, we had other recordings. We had other recordings where you could hear cats meowing on there. So we've also
put it another way. My brain is worried that it's not cats. Hit us with it one more time, please. One more time.
All right.
All right, that would be my most unfavorite so far, which really means my favorite. That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know what that sound is.
Also, there's an EVP. There's an actual voice just before the cat. It says "go."
I'm sorry. It says "go."
It says "go."
Try it again, then.
Okay.
Oh. You're right. Yeah, you're right. It says "go." Oh my God. I don't like that one. That one is creepy.
One of the most active locations in Atlanta, Georgia. I've done investigations there countless times, and we've always gotten weird stuff there. Weird stuff. It's an old plantation house from Washington, Georgia, that was moved there brick by brick back in the 1960s.
that I don't know. That one did it to me.
It's
all the ones,
disturbing.
the
All right,
earlier
I'll give
ones
you that.
were okay, but that one, I'm worried that it wasn't a cat, and clearly there was something else, another voice involved, just immediately prior to the whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another.
All right. This one's fresh off the old BlackBerry. This was recorded on the 1st of August this year on my tour, and we've got something calling me out by name. Give a listen here.
1st of August, 2015, Calhoun Square, overlooking 432 Abercorn.
Patrick, that called out very quickly. That was very fast. Not the way a person would say the name Patrick at all. Hit us with that again, please. Listen how quick it is.
Yes. And I loop it 3 times. It didn't say my name 3 times. I looped it.
Right.
1st of August, 2015, Calhoun Square, overlooking 432 Abercorn.
Ooh, that's weird. Okay. When you find something like that, which personally calls your name, how does that make you feel?
It scares the hell out of me, to be perfectly honest. And it happens pretty consistently too. I've had my name called out. I can't even begin to count the number of times. In the beginning, it was much more disturbing. It phases me less, but it doesn't surprise me any less, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But people on my tour that come with, and they all of a sudden they hear something calling me out by name. That has a tendency to rattle people a little bit, rattle their chains, and they're not even the ones that are being called out by name. You can see a look of concern in their face when something like that happens.
All right. See, I'm getting a lot of bounce back now. People are saying, look, I'm on an Android phone. I hear them just great, listening loud and clear on my ancient iPad, and so forth and so on. So
Okay.
it's just Elizabeth that was having the problem, I guess.
Okay.
Everybody else seems to be hearing them clearly.
Ghost in the machine, right?
Ghost in the machine, yeah.
Right.
Okay. We can squeeze one more in. Let's do it.
All right. This one, another name comes through. This was in Calhoun Square as well, I believe. This goes back a couple of months ago, and you'll hear the name Chuck being called out. Let me stop. Let me bring up that other. I'm sorry.
Chuck. If Amy's not here, who's here? Chuck.
Okay, I hear something. I hear something beyond Chuck, kind of almost like Chuck E or Chuck something. I'm hearing something at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me play it again.
Chuck.
Do you hear anything on the end of that?
I'm not. But I'm not saying there's nothing in there. I'm not saying there's nothing there at the end. What do you think you're hearing?
It almost sounds like Chuck E or something like that. I can't quite put my finger on it, but more than Chuck, unless it's awfully short. There's something at the end of what sounds like the name Chuck. Now, I could be all wet. We'll see what the people have to say who are listening to this. But right now, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Midnight in the Desert. I'm Art Bell.
The clock strikes 12, and Midnight in the Desert is pounding packets your way on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, please direct your finger digits to dial 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952. Call Art.
That's a number, but don't call yet. Hold off. We've got more of these to do, and Patrick, I know you're listening. Go back and cue up the cat fight again. I got so much comment on that, and I agree with these people. Cindy says that wasn't a cat. I've heard all kinds of cat fights, and I've never heard that sound. Rick in Honolulu says cats sound a bit demonic. And I also agree with that. And many comments on the audio. Listen to me very carefully when I say you need earbuds. Trust me on this. Call Bob Crane. I don't know how much they are now, $9.95 or whatever they are. Get the earbuds and listen to it that way. Because coming out of a little, phone speaker or an iPad or something like that, it's not going to do justice to what you're trying to hear. But in actual terms of fidelity that we're sending to you, it is superb. It is above average. It's way better than you're going to hear generally on radio. So do as I ask and get earbuds. If not Bob Crane's, then somebody's, please. You'll see the gigantic difference. All right, back to Patrick. I want to hear the cat thing again.
Okay, here it comes.
Yeah, that is not good. Whatever that is, it's not good. And I like it and don't like it. I like it because it scares me and don't like it because it scares me.
It scares you, yeah. Right.
I'm sorry, either way, I guess. Okay. All right, onward we go. And listen to me, everybody. Please listen to me. This is something you can do. Don't believe it? Fine. Do it yourself. Most people now have an Android, an Apple, or God help us, same thing Patrick has.
That's not my phone, by the way. I'm not stuck on an Android. I hold on to it. It's a glorified audio recorder.
No, you said Android. You meant BlackBerry.
Yes.
So you actually have an Android as well.
I do have an Android, yes. I haven't used this phone as my phone in probably 5 or 6 years. But I hold on to it as a glorified audio recorder because of what I get on it.
Well, plus it's an antique, so it probably gets antique voices better.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Maybe so.
All right. Let's go move on to the next one.
All right. Let's see. In the vein of the other recording that we had that said Chuck, this is kind of interesting. I was working with a device called the Ovilus, and the Ovilus picks up the same name, Chuck. I'd like to play this real quick.
Please make your presence known to us.
Ooh.
Try it again.
Okay, that was very clear.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you could miss that. Even on a poor speaker, how could you miss that?
And that is not the Ovilus. That's not the Ovilus has a very monotone computer voice dictionary. It's very monotone, very electronic sounding. But that one's just really, really good.
Please make your presence known to us.
Oh boy, that one is really, really, really good and clear. I don't know if it means good, but clear anyway.
Right.
Do you ever? Let me ask. Do you ever get interactive comments? Have you ever? I've heard that some people can do that. They actually they say something and they get a response that is meaningful. It continues or projects the conversation or whatever. In other words, it actually is relative to what's being said.
Sure. I mean, let me look through my collection here, if I have anything. Oh, this next one coming up is a perfect, lead into that.
Okay.
And this goes into, you're talking about stuff creeping you out, about it being possibly demonic.
Yes.
This recording, might creep you out. I ask, I'm standing outside again, that house on Calhoun Square. I say, is there evil in this house? And you'll hear a response that says, every day. And then I go on, I ask later on in the recording, after that I say, why does nobody live in this house? And the voice says, evil.
Oh boy. All right.
Let's hear it.
Is there evil in this house? Why doesn't anybody live in the house?
I had to apply some noise reduction to that because there is a lot of background noise in there.
Yeah, that was hard. The first part of that was pretty hard for me.
Yeah. Let me try it again here.
Yeah, hit it again. And tell me again what it says, please, in the beginning.
The first one, I ask out loud, I say, is there evil in this house?
Right.
And the response that seems to come through says every day.
That's what I want to listen for every day. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, let me, I'll cue that up here. In fact, I'll loop that section.
Got it.
Why doesn't anybody live in the house?
Oh, good. Yes. I got it. Evil.
So that ties into, do you ever get that call and response that ask a question, get a response. Why doesn't anybody live in the house? Evil. I just told you.
Boy, that was lucky. Whew.
Yeah.
Really lucky.
Yeah.
All right. Would you tell people they can do this? When people hear this, they think, oh, come on, made up. No, it's not.
No, it isn't. It isn't. As a true skeptic, I have no rational explanation for where these voices are coming from. I understand what pareidolia is, pattern recognition, where you'll make out, backmasking on old rock albums. You would hear what you want to hear in amongst the noise. I think some of these responses come back qualify as not pareidolia. We clearly have human voices, vocalizations that are going on in some of these recordings.
Well, to be fair, we are telling people what they're going to hear. But
Absolutely.
what we're doing is saving you a lot of time. Again, with the other EVP group, they sit around sometimes for hours arguing about what was said before they decide on what was said. So, we're doing a radio show here. We're trying to save you all a little bit of time.
Yeah, and I have said that many times in the past, Art. EVP many times is in the ear of the beholder.
Sure.
It's really funny is, one person will hear one thing and then somebody else hears something. And
That's
I was
right.
actually in a room of skeptics, on a panel, at DragonCon, convention in Atlanta several years ago, and people were going back and forth. I was full of a room of skeptics, and nobody could agree upon what my EVPs were saying. I hear this, I hear that, I hear that. Okay. And I said, aha. But you all agree that it sounds like a human voice. And everybody sort of looked around the room at one another and had to nod.
That's right.
Reluctantly, they nodded.
That's
they
right.
were like, yeah.
I understand. And I understand that this is a real phenomenon. And if you want to know yourself, folks, most of you have got iPhones, Androids, even Blackberries, whatever. So go out and try it yourself. And then you'll be a believer. And until then, you'll probably sit there and scoff. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Well, Art, on that note, I just wanted to tell people there are, of course, there's a plethora of voice note applications for doing audio recordings on your device. I tell people you might have to experiment with several apps until you find one that works. You absolutely do not want anything that has noise reduction. A lot of these apps will zero out if there's no spoken word going on.
Okay, let me ask you for a recommendation. A lot of people want to know. Do you know of a good app?
BlackBerry Curve from 2009, actually. I haven't really worked as much on my Android or my phone, my current phone, as the BlackBerry, because the BlackBerry just works for me, man.
Okay, I hear you. I'm going to lay off the BlackBerry. All right, somebody out there, give me the name of a really good app, and what are the qualities you say?
I say you don't want anything that has noise reduction or attenuates or zeroes out when there's no spoken word going, because EVP, as we've just demonstrated, is very, very often at a lower fidelity, lower amplitude.
Right.
And if it's not loud enough to exceed that record threshold, you'll miss it. So you want something where you're always going to hear background noise. You're always going to hear, sounds in the background going on. You don't want anything that incorporates any sort of noise reduction. You can incorporate noise reduction later on in your digital audio workstation software. But you don't want anything recording with noise reduction, because a lot of times that noise reduction will filter out the EVPs coming through.
All right. Somebody out there, give me the name of a good app, please. Send it through the wormhole, whatever. Larry asks, have you ever fled a paranormal situation because you were afraid.
Yeah, actually I have. When I've been by myself, I don't, as a general rule of thumb, investigate by myself, because I'll be the first to admit it. This stuff does spook me out. It does scare me. But also, I think from an evidence gathering perspective, you've got to have at least one other person with you, because if you're by yourself and something happens, and you're already amped up expecting something to happen, that's a ripe environment for your subconscious mind to run away with itself.
I agree.
All of a sudden, everything you hear, every bump is a ghost. Every bump in the night is a ghost. So you want that reality check, if you will, there in the form of another person present to confirm or deny what's going on.
Makes sense.
So I've had some experiences where I've been by myself and I've gotten the hell out of there as fast as I could. Indeed.
For example?
Well, for example, would be, when I was in the bar, the story I told you, back when I was in Chicago, when I had my first real paranormal encounter and I saw that reflection in the mirror. It wasn't just that. I always felt like I was being watched there. And when I had to turn out the lights to go back upstairs, the lights were all the way at one end of the bar and the door leading up to our stairwell was on the other side of the bar. So I had to walk through the dark in this bar. And I would always stare straight down at the floor as I walked along so I didn't have to look around and see anything around me. I felt like there was something there watching me constantly. And when I saw the reflection in the mirror, I got the heck out of there as quickly as I could.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next.
Yeah. All right. This one, you'll hear a voice in it that says you and Amy. And remember, I've said that the name Amy has come up at this location. This is, again, Calhoun Square in Savannah here. Whoops. I need to pop that other thing up. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here it goes.
You've indicated there's evil in this house. You've indicated there's evil in this house.
You and Amy. Okay, that came through quite well. You and Amy.
You and Amy.
Not as easy to hear as some of them, but nevertheless, I could make out you and Amy. Let's do that one more time for everybody.
Sure. Yeah, the first recording it plays, that's the original with no noise reduction. The second, when it loops through, I actually applied some noise reduction to help it come through a little bit better.
Okay, good.
Okay.
You've indicated there's evil in this house. You've indicated there's evil in this house.
All right, that helped a great deal, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is.
But do you realize? I mean, evil in the house. So this voice just told you the evil was you and Amy.
And Amy, yeah, right. I've never been in the house.
All right. Was somebody named Amy with you?
There is a voice, a name comes through constantly for me in this location, a spirit that I call Amy. I got the name, came through on my Ovilus device one night, Amy, and then I got EVP with the name Amy coming through. Sometimes it's a male voice that says it. And this is unusual, Art, because we're in a historic district. We're assuming that all the ghosts in this area are old. Amy would not have been a name that women would have gone by back in the 1800s. But, so we're assuming we're working under the construct that these must be old ghosts. But people have lived in this area since the 1730s. There are residential properties all over. Who knows if this is a spirit of somebody who passed away there? Who knows when this individual passed away?
That's true. Very true. Somebody was mentioning how many people have died in the modern history of the world, and it's billions and billions and billions of people. So not everybody obviously remains around, or all you'd get is a crowd of voices, even with EVPs. I wonder what qualifies somebody to remain. Many people believe that violent death does that. Many believe that unrequited love does that. I'm sure those are the same things you run into, right?
Absolutely. You know, and then there are also the ideas that maybe somebody sticks around. They don't even realize that they're dead. They've that their death may have happened so suddenly that they just believe that they're injured. They got hit really bad, and they're kind of walking around in this ethereal daze, and they don't realize that they've passed on. It's there are, of course, many different ideas, different philosophies and schools of thought where that's concerned. And of course, I believe all of them are a possibility.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have time for another. Let us do it.
All right, let's progress on here. Then that was you and Amy. This one, interesting. This one came across. This is my wife's name comes through on this recording. I don't even think she's heard this one yet. I discovered this this afternoon working with your producer when we were kind of prepping for the show here.
Oh, you mean you had not heard this earlier?
My wife has not heard this one.
Oh.
Her name comes through. She was present with me on this tour this evening, and you'll hear a male voice say Marley.
We're on the south side of 432 Evercorn.
I do hear it. I hear Marley. It's not really loud, but it is there.
Really loud.
It is there.
Yeah.
I wonder how your wife reacts to hearing her name in one.
Yeah, she's listening in on the show on the stream in the other room. I'm sure when it catches up with her and she's actually hearing that, she's probably going to be a little put off by it. I just tried to amplify it a little bit. Let's see if this helps any.
Marley, it seems pretty clear to me.
Yeah. She was with me on the tour that night. So that comes through. Not only does my name come through, hers does.
All right. Well, my goodness. Is there any advice that you hand out to people? I mean, for example, do you feel that it is beneficial to go to places like cemeteries?
I've gotten some really good responses in cemeteries. I know some people, claim that cemeteries aren't haunted. Why would a cemetery be haunted? But this dates back to what I was saying earlier. We're materialistic beings, and there is no more material possession to us in the world than our body. It's the one thing really that nobody can take away from you. You can have a, material possession such as a car or a piece of jewelry. You can be parted with that. Your body is part of you. And, say you're holding on, you're afraid to cross over. Your body might be the last, bastion of your material, connection to this planet.
That's right.
All
right. Hold tight. We're going to break here, and when we come back, more EVPs and your questions as well.
When you walked into the room, there was blue.
Take a ride from the high desert and the great American Southwest. This is Midnight in the Desert, exclusively on the Dark Matter Digital Network. To call the show, dial 1-952. Call Art. That's 1-952-225-5278.
Well, all right. Okay. Thank you, Wormhole. We have a response here. Anthony says an interesting app for Android is Ghost Radar Connect. Great for starting off. And guess what, Anthony? I checked, and Ghost Radar Connect is also available on, not that I'm doing ads for people's apps, because it does cost, boy, it looks interesting, though. We've got it on Apple as well. Ghost Radar Connect. I am going to buy it right there. Didn't even have to put in my, oh, yes, I do. Well, I'll buy it here in a moment. Welcome back, Patrick.
Thank you.
So there is one, by the way. It's called Ghost Radar Connect.
Yes.
Just so you know. Yeah. Have you
I'm
had it?
familiar
Have
with
you
it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Yep. And I've got a bit of an echo going on here.
You do?
Yeah. Let's see. Does that help?
I don't know. I'm not hearing it here.
Okay, weird. Maybe it's on my end. It seems to be better now. Yeah, I've seen the ghost radar for many years, and it does have a spirit box function in it where it will randomly say words, much like an Ovilus or a PX device will. It also has a radar sweep. Looks like a traditional radar screen, and every couple of minutes a little blip will appear on the radar. And of course, I tell people, there's no radar sweep going on this device. I don't think there's any capability that it could know where any sort of magnetic disturbance or anomaly is occurring. Certainly, it wouldn't be able to range how far away that is from.
Okay, well, here on Apple, it's got 4.5 stars. It looks pretty good to me. So, Ghost Radar Connect. And yeah. I'm hearing a little bit of echo too.
Do
you still have that turned up?
Didn't change my settings here, so I don't know what's going on.
All right.
Let me try pulling this pot down a little bit.
Anyway, let us proceed with the next one.
Okay. All right. Let me see on our list here. This is a very interesting recording. This was made outside Savannah's Mercer Williams house, and the Mercer house, if any of your listeners are fans of the book and or movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Mercer House is where that story was set. The house was owned by an antiques dealer and house restorationist named Jim Williams, who killed his gay lover in a quarrel back in 1981. But this house is one of these serial magnets for tragedy that I refer to. This is a location where over generations a series of tragic deaths have occurred within the house. And while the house sat abandoned for many years, some local youth broke in the late 1960s. They made their way up to the roof of the house where they were trying to allegedly capture a pigeon. Was their official cause of death, reason of being up there. One of the three boys who was up there fell to his death from the roof of the house. And people have suggested that he may have levitated off the roof of the house. There are all sorts of rumors here in town about what really happened to Tommy Downs that day.
Right.
But you'll hear me talk out loud, and I say out loud to Tommy, I say, Tommy, and you will hear the PX device playing underneath. It says hi, and then it says fall, which is interesting because Tommy fell from a height of 40 plus feet. And then I go on, Tommy, do you have a message for us? And you'll hear a very, very breathy, whispery voice at the end of the recording say, don't drink.
Okay, wait, before you do this, the PX device, remind me again, please, what is that?
It's a spirit box. It's a device. The inventor of it is a gentleman by the name of Bill Chappell, and it takes environmental variables such as the Earth's magnetic field, temperature fluctuations. It combines them all together and it turns it into spoken word. Basically, and the theory of operation is that spirit might somehow be able to manipulate either the environment or possibly the circuitry of the device itself to make it say certain words.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, it's an interesting device. So I'll go ahead and play this for you here.
All right, our first recording outside the Mercer House at 10:14 p.m., March 28, 2015. Tommy? Tommy, do you have a message for us?
Yeah, I hear it. It's not easy to hear. It comes at the very end of all that. When you ask about the message, whether there is a message for us, it says don't drink. It's hard. It's not easy to hear, but
it's not the best EVP I have. But it's I think it's not one of the better ones, but certainly.
Yep, got it. Don't drink. Good advice. Anyway.
Right. but odd, coming from an 11-year-old boy. So I've kind of speculated that there might have been something else that occurred that day. The boys who were up there, their official reasoning that they told the police that they were up there was that they were allegedly trying to capture a pigeon. And I find that odd to be there, So I've kind of speculated. I wonder if somebody swiped a bottle of booze out of Dad's liquor cabinet, rounded up a couple of his buddies, and they hightailed it up to the roof of this abandoned house where they could, tip the bottle without being under the watchful eye of Mom and Dad.
Okay, again, let us move on so we have time for questions. A lot of times people want you to go back and play something again because they think they heard something else.
Sure, absolutely. So let me bring up this one. This one, it's a little faint. It might be a little harder to hear. We definitely saved the better recordings for the beginning of the program here. But I think you're going to hear this female voice in here. There's somebody else talking underneath. You will hear another tour guide talking in the background, but you'll hear a vocalization of a female voice in this. I think if you listen carefully, of a female voice saying, "I want to sleep." Let's give it a listen here.
Can you tell us your name, please?
There is a lot of contamination in there.
Maybe, but I heard it. I had no problem hearing it. Really.
Good. Yeah, so.
It's a halting voice. I want to sleep. Like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Go ahead, try it again.
That's why I hear it as well. Okay. Bring it up here.
The one thing that you probably would think that wouldn't be needed on the other side, huh?
Right. Maybe she means she wants to, eternal sleep, eternal rest.
Oh.
She wants to be at rest.
Oh, yes, you're right. Could be that.
Yeah.
Rather not think of that, but yes, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have one more, and then we'll do a break, and we'll ask the audience what they want to ask.
Absolutely. Okay. So this one, I actually filmed with a Ukrainian film crew here in Savannah back in June. It was for a reality TV program, not a paranormal-based show, but they wanted a ghost tour. They wanted to go with a ghost hunter around Savannah, so I took them to a location called the Sorrel Weed House here in Savannah, and it is it was made famous on several of the ghost shows out there, but this was actually the first time that I had ever been inside the house, and we got when I was recording this, the camera was literally inches away from my face. They were trying to get an extreme close-up on my face. And in the recording, hopefully it'll come across clear enough for your listeners and for you here, you'll hear a voice say, "Go away, camera. Go away, camera."
Really?
Yeah, let's listen.
Well, that said, "Go away, Chuck."
You think it says "Go away, Chuck"?
Yeah.
Let's hear it. Oh, you're absolutely right. Okay.
Go away, Chuck.
Go away, Chuck. I like I said earlier, EVP is many times in the ear of the beholder, but I hear what you're saying.
That was not even a close call to me.
Yeah, I hear Chuck again.
Chuck is not real close to camera. Go.
Yeah.
How did you get camera out of that?
It's clipped off. I had to increase the volume on it a little bit, and in raising the volume, that also raises the noise floor.
Yeah.
So it's mixed in amongst the all the background noise. When I heard it at its original amplitude before I applied amplification to it, it sounded more like camera. Very quickly though, camera. Like that, camera. But I agree with you. I think it says "Go away, Chuck."
Yeah, I don't even think that's a close call. We'll see what the audience thinks.
Yeah, we'll see what they think. And like
All
I said,
right.
this is the thing, about EVP is sometimes people will point out something and say, I hear this, and you go back and listen, and you totally hear something completely different.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's pause here. We're going to open the phone lines. So if you have questions about any of the past ones, you want them repeated, that's fine. If you have any comments, positive, negative, that's fine. Here are the phone numbers. The public line is area code 952-225-5278. Put a 1 in front of that. So it's 1-952-225-5278. If you're calling otherwise, of course, we are available on Skype. If you're in North America, MITD 51. MITD 51. Outside, rest of the world, MITD 55. That's Midnight in the Desert, MITD 55. Just go to the little plus sign in Skype, add us as a contact, and then you will find us in your contact list, and you can call us. So, all that said, let's take a break right here, and we'll come back with Patrick Burns and your questions, your observations, whatever it is you want to say, that's what we're here for. This is Midnight in the Desert, exploring some pretty unusual areas, some of them clearly beyond.
Remember, when calling Midnight in the Desert, let the phone ring until answered. These calls are unscreened for your listening pleasure. Call 1-952-CALL-ART. That's 1-952-225-5278.
Well, okay, my guest is Patrick Burns. He is a ghost hunter, paranormal investigator, and I did get that app, by the way. I went and got that app, so I now have on my phone GR Connect. I presume it records audio as well as video. Is that correct, Patrick?
I have not worked with the new version of that app,
Okay.
so I'm gonna plead ignorance on that.
No problem. We'll find out. In the meantime, let's rock and roll here. Let's go to Marcy on Skype first. Hi, Marcy.
Hello, Art. How are you?
Fine. Where are you, Marcy?
I'm in Colorado.
Okay, cool. I never
And
ask
I'd
people
like to-
anymore where they are, and I'm always curious. Go ahead.
And I'd like to give a shout out to Belgab. Hi, guys. I was going to tell a ghost story, but I think you would rather me do that Friday. It's pretty good.
Is it?
Yes. If you want to wait, that's fine. I'll call Friday.
Yeah, let's do that. Do you have a question for Patrick?
Well, yes. I really apologize, Patrick, but I don't know whether it's the equipment, but I'm just not feeling it. Is there anything you can say that might change my mind or convince me that what I'm hearing is really in there?
So you're not hearing any voices at all?
Oh, I'm hearing the voices. It just there's very little variance to them. It sounds very much like birds chirping, and it's someone
See,
hard
I'm not hearing that. Yeah, to be fair, Marcy, I'm not hearing that. Birds chirping?
Well, earlier it sounded like it might have been the audio itself. It sounded like a lot of water in the background.
Yes.
And
yes.
the voices were kind of squeaky.
Those are when you're hearing that trickling sound. Those are called artifacts. When you apply noise reduction to an audio file to clean it up, to get rid of some of that background hiss, it's not 100% effective, and you will have remnants that remain that are called artifacts. It doesn't remove all the voice, and it can very, very frequently sound like water running, or it'll sound like wind chimes, or like you said, birds chirping. So
Marcy, what are you listening on?
I'm listening on a headset.
Oh, you really should be hearing it then.
Yeah.
Because I sure did. I
can hear the voices, but there's the background noise is really disruptive, and I should listen longer. I'm just not buying it.
Okay.
But
Well, the
this is the
problem
first
is-
time I've heard you, so I'll give it a chance.
You're expecting the voices that show up on these recordings to be crystal clear fidelity, and that's not the nature of EVP. These voices are very often buried in the background noise. You've heard the term white noise. That's where these voices occur. And I'm not here to convince you one way or the other. I invite people to make their own interpretation. Whether or not they believe is entirely up to them. That if you come to Savannah, come on my tour, and I'll show you real time in the field how we collect these.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Gonna give me a ticket? Just kidding.
All right. Listen,
Okay, well, thank you so much, and Art, you have a good evening.
Marcy, thank you. Take care.
My wife handed me this note earlier. She said, make it clear the BlackBerry isn't a working phone, only using it as a recorder. People think it's your phone. No, I want to clarify that. This used to be my phone back in 2009. I don't even have the radio turned on this thing. I couldn't even call 911 if I wanted to. It is a glorified audio recorder and
okay.
nothing more.
You don't need to apologize for your BlackBerry. I was just having fun. I couldn't help myself.
I know. I'm not talking about you, Art. I guess other people online, she's reading in the comments online.
I see.
As if people think this is my real phone. It's not. Not
All
anymore.
Right. All right. Norman, Oklahoma, maybe. Hi.
Hi, Art.
Howdy.
Oh, my gosh, something just scared me. I had this ice in this glass, and you know how ice melts and then it sounds sort of like firewood when it shifts?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Kind of. Well, if you're thinking about ghosts and that happens, you jump a little.
Okay.
I have several comments. I'm going to try to do it really fast. I really am proud that you got that Chuck, that was the camera Chuck,
Yes.
Yeah.
That was real clear to me, too, and I was like, what's wrong with my ears? I hear Chuck. I don't hear any camera thing. But then when you played it again, I could hear that camera real fast, real soft. Before the Chuck, there is a camera thing.
Oh.
I heard it.
All
And
right.
I
Well,
also
wait.
So, sorry.
Cue it up. I want to hear this. There's a camera before the...
Yeah, right between...
All right. Hold on. I want to hear it.
Let's listen.
I don't know that I hear it.
Now, it might be because I'm on the phone and it's louder.
Could be.
Because I was listening on a Bose speakers before.
Right.
And
yeah.
It's different on the phone. It's louder. That could be why, but I did hear it. And I also heard when you said there was an E, like Chuck E earlier.
That I heard.
I heard Chuck hee.
Oh, hee.
Yeah, like they were laughing, like it was funny, like kids might,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And also, I can hear your stuff just fine.
Right.
And I wanted to say, some of them remind me of my parakeets when they talked. The sound of it, their voices are kind of whispery and kind of, parakeetish, like those really reminded me of my parakeets' voices, and it was kind of cool because I miss those parakeets.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it, that some people seem to be having a hard time, but others, like you, not a hard time at all.
I wonder if the hearing range people have, the hearing frequency range
has a lot to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So some people are tuned into different. That's kind of high and kind of, like you say, mixed in with white noise. But I'm blind and I have to listen to everything. So, it's not like my ears are better. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I focus in on, like you would with your eye.
Yep.
More fine-tuned. Sure.
I really love to do that. I love to hear. And I got one, Art. I got one in my whole life. And one of these EVPs. After I heard your show, and I was just in my room messing around, trying to get sleepy, and I was just recording nothing, and I heard, "Extinguish your device, please."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I did, and it was so clear. So I thought, wow, they were listening to Art. They were listening, and they were listening good too, because they thought I should extinguish my device.
Yeah, well, long after I'm gone, all of you better be listening for "Extinguish Your Device."
Well, it's going to be there forever because somebody's floating around that doesn't want to go. Like it was hilarious because at first I thought I was imagining it, and then I thought I put the headphones on, and I thought, no, that can't. That's not. And you know how your phone will die, like you have to get a new one. I was going to send it to you.
Really?
My phone died, and you know how they just die one day and you can't bring them back to life, and you have to go to the store and get a new one, and you lose all your stuff, and you didn't upload it anywhere. And
well, that's your fault. Now we have the cloud,
But it was kind of funny. The ghost was in there, and then the phone died.
Ghost in the phone. All right.
Yeah,
well, listen, hon. Thanks. I got to run.
Thank you, Art.
See you later.
Extinguish your device. That's newspeak for put out your e-cigarette, I guess.
Not quite. Do this phone long enough, you'll know exactly what it is. Sassy Abby somewhere on Skype. Hello.
Hi, this is Abby.
Hi, Abby.
I was listening to your show, and I just have a question.
Okay.
I don't believe in ghosts at all.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
But when I hear those voices...
When you what?
When I hear those voices...
Yes.
I get so scared that I almost can't breathe.
But you don't believe in ghosts, right?
Yes. But I get chills, and I shake, and I can't move, and I'm like a deer caught in headlights. And I'm not a fearful person.
My goodness.
I don't understand it.
Well, maybe you need to re-examine what you really believe, Sassy.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in ghosts. I don't think it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would there be ghosts?
Why would there be ghosts? Is that what you're asking?
Why wouldn't there be?
Why? Yeah, better question. Why wouldn't there be is right.
Law of conservation states that energy is neither created nor destroyed, only converted into another form. Something must survive physical death when we die. The only question is, does it retain its intellect, its intelligence, its personality? That something has to survive physical death. That energy does not just simply cease to exist.
Yeah, but we are what our brain makes us, and the brain's dead. So what? I don't see how there would be any person left.
Abby, do you think that there is any life or any existence, let me put it that way, after death?
No.
You don't?
No, I mean...
you think it's like a light bulb just getting turned off?
Yeah. It just shuts off. I mean, we don't remember before we're born because we weren't here. And I think it's the same. You die, and it's just like before you were born. So why do these voices scare me like that?
Why do they scare you? Because you know somewhere deep down, Abby, that you could be wrong.
Yep.
But then that should be a good thing, right?
Depends on your point of view and how you've led your life.
Yep.
Where you think you're going.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody really just wants to stop existing.
Have you been,
at least
Abby, have you been good?
No, I'm bad.
Well, I would like to observe that your laugh seems a mite nervous.
Because I was listening to those voices and I'm totally freaked out. I was sitting outside on my deck, and that mommy one came on. And I sit outside on my deck all the time on my computer. And I'm sitting outside in the dark. I live out in the country. It's pitch black out here. And I'm sitting out there, and all of a sudden that voice comes like, goes, Mommy. And I go running inside my house.
I gotta go, Abby. I gotta go.
I was a highwayman. Get right back where we started from. Love is good. Love can be strong. We gotta get right back where we started from.
Midnight in the Desert doesn't screen calls. We trust you. But remember, the NSA, well, you know. To call the show, please dial 1-952-225-5278. That's 1-952-CALL-ART.
I really, really do like that one. Hi, everybody. My guest is a ghost hunter, Patrick Burns, and he's been playing EVPs for us, and some people love them, some people don't like them, some people believe them, some people give us nervous giggles. It just, I guess it depends on who you are. And who is this? You're on the air with Patrick. Hello. Oh, wait.
I'm from Florida.
Now you're on the air. I'm sorry.
Hey, Art, this is Tom from Florida.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, what I heard in that EVP, the last one, was actually Amy, call me Chuck. That's what I heard. Amy, call me Chuck.
Really?
Listen to it again.
Yeah, hold on, caller. It's worth hearing. Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Again, please. Yes, again.
Yeah. Let me get that on loop here.
Caller is right.
Yeah.
Caller is absolutely good catch, caller. Dead on the money.
Yeah, I heard him mention somebody named Amy earlier, and whenever I heard that, I was like, you know what? I think it's mentioning Amy.
You're right. You're right.
But the other thing I wanted to ask him, what I wanted to ask you, what do you think? What do you think about the possibility that some of the explanations for ghost appearances, not all of them, but some of them, are a form of astral projection from people that are actually somewhere else in the world, and someone is actually seeing them in an astral projection.
Okay.
Art, that will have to be. That's a topic for another show for another time. When I got into the paranormal after the death of my brother in 1985, I had an extremely vivid out-of-body experience that occurred to me about 1988 or 1989. It would take me quite some time to tell the story, but I believe I was pulled out of my body by my brother's spirit. It was basically a gift that he gave to me to demonstrate to me the existence of the spirit world. And it's a very long story, but I have heard that as well, caller. I have heard, people have speculated that we might be actually experiencing the spirit of the living manifesting via out-of-body experience. Sure.
No question about it. Mark, you're on the air. Hi. Hello, Mark.
Skype?
Yes.
On Skype?
Yeah, hey, Mark.
Oh, hey, my first Skype call. I've never had this happen. Welcome back, Art.
And you sound fine.
Come back on. I literally had goosebumps.
Oh, Mark, I've got to tell you, Mark, first of all, thank you for calling and using Skype. I've been training the audience, and they all groan when I try and teach them how to do this. But the fact of the matter is, once they've done it, it sounds so good that thank you.
I'm trucking southbound, talking on a cell phone through Skype, so there you go.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First point is, you thought you heard him say Chuck E. a while back, or Chuck something. I heard Sparky when you asked somebody who his name was, if anybody was there. So Sparky over and over is all I heard, like from National Lampoon's Vacation or something. But I have a question for your guest. What about using an amplified listening device and putting that in your ear and using that separately from your recording device to see if maybe you can pick something up immediately when you ask somebody a question?
It's
Absolutely.
a good question, yeah.
Yeah, that concept is what they call real-time EVP. It's not quite real time. There are recorders that have been modified, and what they do basically is they inject it's like a delay. It's like a digital delay.
Mm-hmm.
You'll say something and you'll hear it a few seconds later. So you're hearing the recording, the playback in near real time. The problem is I haven't had the real-time EVP recorders that I've worked with, I haven't had really good success with. And it's also very disconcerting and confusing to your brain, if that makes any sense, to listen to this constant delay in your voice as you're trying to talk. You're trying to keep up with yourself as you're talking, and it gets to be very, very confusing, and it's mentally exhausting to listen to one of these devices for any length of time.
Right.
Another approach to that is that you have one person asking questions, and then you have another person who is monitoring with headphones on. So they're not listening to both, they're not listening to the person talk outright, but they're listening to the playback in near real time, and they can say, we got a response here.
Yeah, even then you're listening to something down into the noise, and so it's going to be tough.
Yes.
By the way, hold this on Ghost Radar Connect. I bought the thing for $2 now. I might be sorry I did. It looks like it's for video, and I wanted audio, so that's the way it goes. All right. Mountain Home, Idaho, hello.
Yes, sir. I had a comment on your show, and I have a question for the man.
Sure.
And, by the way, your sound quality is excellent.
Thank you. We think so.
I say that authoritatively. I gavel with my nicotine gum.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Do you get a lot of children on these EVPs? And isn't that kind of heartbreaking?
Yes.
Well, we got a couple. I don't know if you were listening earlier. We had that little girl voice that said "mommy." We've gotten other voices. Some of the female vocalizations, actual voices when they come through, and they're not whispery, sound like adolescent children. Yes, it is disheartening. It's being a parent of two boys. I certainly don't want to think that if a child passes on, that's tragic enough, but how much more tragic to think that their spirit could somehow be trapped here.
That's right.
My goodness. Well.
Yeah.
I'm with you, caller. Thank you very, very much for the call, and call again. But I'm totally with you. Even our other group of EVP people get child voices all the time, and it's very disturbing, and it's not easily explained when you consider, the number of people in the world that pass on, right? Shouldn't be that many children. That's all there is to it. Nick on Skype. Hi.
Hi, it's great to be on the show in Roswell's.
Okay, thank you. Move good and close to your device.
All right, I tried to configure that earlier. Am I sounding all right?
Right. If you get close to the mic, you're okay. If you tried to, configure a headset, maybe you just didn't get it quite right.
All right, so last week when you had the other EVP guys on, they said someone asked if they tried to triangulate the EVP.
That's right.
So with that Chuck recording that you had, was that like two separate occasions, or was that like a simultaneous recording from two devices?
That was two separate recordings on different occasions. I'm trying to look at the date here on it. The one was recorded on the 30th of March this past year, and the other one I don't have the date on the file because I've actually closed out the original file. But they were definitely on two different locations. So we're getting the same name is coming through on different occasions for sure.
All right, and I've got one last comment, I guess. So you kind of mentioned this before. With all the people who lived before us, it would seem that if this was like dead people, it would be just overloaded with all these just like random voices and stuff.
Yeah, I'm the one who said that. Think how many people in the world have died.
But what's so intriguing is at least with the guys last week, it seemed like a lot of what they had was with the context of what they were asking. But I guess more of what we heard this week, not necessarily was in the context, but just I don't know, just.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. And by the way, go into Skype and configure in Skype for your headset as opposed to what other device it had in there. But then you have to remember and go down and save it. If you don't save it, the next time you open Skype, it'll go right back to where it was. We'll have some kind of Skype training session or something some night. And it really does work. People are exasperated when I talk about it, but the fact of the matter is, we have had incredible luck with getting people to configure properly, and they're sounding better and better and better and better all the time. On the phone, you're on the air. Hi.
Yes, hi, Art. Hi, Patrick.
Hi there.
Going back to the cat EVP.
Oh, yes.
I believe you said the house was reconstructed from Washington, Georgia. Did you say that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you know where in Washington, Georgia that came from?
I do not know. I know that it was a plantation house that was one of the few in that area that was not burned by William Tecumseh Sherman on his famed March to the Sea during the Civil War. But when it was discovered in the 1960s, the early 1960s, it was, I've seen photographs of it, it was completely dilapidated, run down, and the individual who owns the restaurant or started the restaurant wanted to have an antebellum plantation house as a restaurant in Atlanta. Problem was, Sherman ensured that there were no plantation houses existing. So we found this one and moved it brick by brick meticulously from its location in Washington, Georgia. But where exactly it was in Washington, I'm not sure.
Okay, I live in Washington. That's why. That's all.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen photographs of it. It was out in a field someplace, and it, just completely run down, falling apart. And he meticulously moved it brick by brick, board by board, to Atlanta, to Buckhead.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
it's something
my
else.
follow-up
It's really
question
beautiful.
is I'm moving to Savannah next month, and I was wondering if you heard of any haunted houses on West Bolton Street, where I'll be moving to.
Yeah, the whole blocks
West Bolton
are...
Street, I'm not familiar with that area yet. I've been coming to Savannah for years. I've only actually lived here just over a year. Tell them the truth. The whole block has shredded human parts everywhere. Yes, exactly.
Oh, great.
They're going to be ghost stories everywhere. You can't throw a rock in this town without it landing someplace where there's a ghost story.
Okay, great.
Have a great night, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Billy, it's your turn. Hello. Hello, Billy. Going once, going twice, and Billy? No, he's not there. He's not ready. On the phone, you're on the air. Hi. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Hello.
Hello.
Good. Listen, could you hear me?
I hear you.
Hello. Okay, great. I'm sorry. I was wondering if your guest ever heard of a gentleman, actually a scientist by the name of Ron Dive. I believe I'm saying that correctly. He was the person that actually developed the first EVPs.
Actually, I don't know about that.
Frederick Jurgensen is the one who is traditionally credited as being the father of EVP.
Well, Frederick Jurgensen, he was not a botanist, a person that used to record the bird songs. Is that correct?
That's Frederick Jurgensen. That's correct. He was a film director, and he picked them up by accident. He thought it was his deceased mom in his garden that he recorded.
Yeah, well, one of his better friends was an engineer by the name of Constantine Rondive, I believe his name is, and he picked up the research on this.
I heard that Alexander Graham Bell experimented with it.
Yeah, well, I've heard that rumor as well.
This is after that. This is a German fella, and he has a book out. I read it 20 years ago. It was a reference book that you can find in just about any university library. And it's actually called Breakthrough. You ever hear of it?
I haven't heard of it, but okay. Thank you for the info, and we'll sure look into it.
If he's a lost champion of EVP or early researcher, I'll have to do some research on that and read up on him.
All right,
Thanks.
Dan on Skype. Hello. Hello, Dan. Going once, going twice. Short opportunity. John. Hello there, John. You're on the air. Extinguish your device, please. Are you there, John?
Yes, hello. I have a question for your guest. I was wondering if he has ever experimented with taking an EVP field recording and listening to it in reverse to see if there are any EVPs that can be picked up when it's being played backwards instead of forwards.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's a whole nother world. I tell people, with digital audio workstations now, software, you can time stretch a file, a recording, and you can preserve its pitch. So in other words, you can slow it down without affecting the pitch, or you can speed it up. And it's really interesting. You can listen to these recordings a lot of times, and you can change the time. You can also change the pitch as well, and you can flip it around. You can play it backwards, and you will hear different voices come through. And sometimes it's incredible. You play the recording backwards, and it doesn't sound like a backwards recording. It's a perfectly clear voice coming through. That's an entirely different area of research,
and maybe a different show too.
Yes.
The reason I asked is some of the EVPs I've heard tonight sound like what's called backwards masking, to where what I hear sounds like it was actually recorded in reverse and then it's being played forwards.
Got it.
Right.
No, you're exactly right, caller. Thank you very, very much. That is true, and that could be an entirely different program, right?
Indeed. Yeah, I have a EVP recorded in a cemetery, and we play it forward. It sounds like it's saying, shameless. And when we reversed it just on a whim, and when it was played backwards, it said, I think it says something like "save me," or I'm trying to recall exactly what it did, but it made more sense in reverse than it did forward.
By the way, you've got to have a really perverted sense of humor, which I have. But there's a TV show on, I think it's, what's it on? It's called Shameless, anyway, and it's hysterical. I mean, absolutely hysterical. It's like Married with Children times 100.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, give it
Sounds right up my alley.
Showtime. That's it. All right, Livermore, California. I think you're on the air with Patrick. Hello.
Hey, Art, it's Jesse, and I just wanted to give you some tips on the Ghost Connect app.
Okay.
You seemed a little disheartened when you said that you thought it was more of a vocal thing than a video thing. And
no, I was hoping it was more audio than video.
Oh, okay. Well, it has multiple, what's the word,
capabilities?
Multiple things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So down at the bottom, there's 3 little lights, and they'll light up, I think, yellow, orange, and red.
Hon, I'll go home and play with it. Thank you. I'm so sorry. The show is ending. I really have got to go. And I'm
okay. I totally understand. It talks to you randomly.
Oh. It talks to me randomly?
Yeah, it'll say just randomly, you'll turn it on, and then randomly it'll say something like,
I wish it would do that. All right. I've got to go. Patrick, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. You've been a true gentleman. Thank you so very much. We will do it again, and it sounds like there are other avenues you and I could go down.
Completely. This has been an honor, Art. Thank you so much.
Good night, Patrick.